All right, hello, best real estate company agents. I am Kaye Thompson, your principal broker for several states. With me today, I have one of our resident brokers, Miss Shanita Johnson.
Hello, hello.
Yes, and I actually got some feedback from our agents at our last office meeting, which was the first meeting of the year for best agents we had at Pinnacle Bank. We discussed training and we discussed ways that we could help you guys to improve the state of your businesses by providing information, training, and tools for you that you could access at any time to be able to, like I said, enhance the flow and the growth of your business. So for those of you who are not aware of this, our founder, Mr. Larry Mayall, would have a Wednesday webinar every week. And he did that for quite a long time. And if you want to go back and listen to some of the things that he talked about, you can do that. I was able to upload, and other people in the firm too that helped him with that. We were able to upload some of his teachings and some of the webinars to YouTube. So if you go and Google his name, Larry Mayall, Larry Mayall, you'll be able to hear some of the insight that he gave us when he was the principal broker in charge. He did retire, and that is actually how I eventually wound up being the principal broker for Tennessee, because he just, he needed to retire and begin living that sort of lifestyle where he could be relaxed and not have to worry about so much. But so you can go and check out some of those, or all of them actually, so you can see that kind of the idea that he had in mind when he started to share this kind of information. And so in our training, or not our training, but in our meeting, our office meeting we had a few weeks ago, I asked the agents who attended that meeting, if they would be interested in having some sort of communication or a broadcast that kind of kept them abreast of what was going on in the real estate industry, what the national landscape looked like in terms of real estate. Obviously, we want to talk about what's happening in our local markets. For me, that's a really big footprint because I'm servicing several states. And so I will definitely do my best with this podcast to try to keep things relevant and as specific as possible to our local markets. But I think it's important for agents to understand what's going on at the national level, because all of those things kind of trickle down to us. I also decided that Wednesday was probably a very busy day for most agents. And you may not be apt to listen to a podcast or a webinar on a Wednesday because you're so busy selling real estate. But Fridays would be a better day for us to put this out, because we could actually talk about things that happen throughout the week, both on a local level and on a national level, and then give you the weekend to marinate over it, think about what we've said, and then maybe if you're interested, share some feedback and insight on what we talked about via email to either myself or to Shanita. And just so you know, Shanita has been with our company for a few years now, 3 years. We met in a very unorthodox way, but she's very knowledgeable about a lot of things. She is a very diligent person. She is committed to the things that she undertakes. She really likes to do a good job. And she is very well read too. She is learning, understands, that she needs to be on top of things that are happening nationally and locally herself. She does a couple of things in the real estate realm. She's not just a buyer's agent. She gets listings as well. She operates an Airbnb operation. I will hope that it's very successful for her. It's been I've been able to take advantage of it a couple of times for things that I needed, and she was always a gracious host. The space that I used was always clean and beautiful. It's in a great location, so she has a lot of insight that I thought we could spread amongst the masses, especially to our newer agents who may not understand just what they've gotten into when it comes to running a real estate business. Shanita has also graciously agreed to help me to put together things in terms of training for our agents. So, we'll discuss that a little bit later. These podcasts are not meant to be more than 15 to 20 minutes because, like I said, I understand that people are really busy. And you don't have a lot of time to spend listening to one podcast or to listen to us ramble. So after this podcast, we're going to try to make it very impactful, but keep it at a very specific time period so that we can just give you big nuggets of information that you could use in your business right away. And then, like I said, if you guys have any questions or concerns, you can email those to me. And then Shanita and I will take stock of those questions and then try to answer them in the next podcast. Just so you guys know, if we don't know something, we're going to tell you we don't know it. If we can try to find the information for you, we will. We will not be answering frivolous questions. And we're not going to be answering questions that you can use like your Google or whatever to look up. We're not going to answer questions about documents and things of that nature on this particular podcast. This is a learning tool for us to give you a broad idea of what's going on in your markets and in your local market. So semantics like, what do I put on line number 5 in the purchase and sale agreement? We're not going to answer those questions. That's something you should speak to your specific broker about. And all of our brokers here at Best are so awesome. So I'm pretty sure they'll be more than willing to help you to answer those. So that's just a little housekeeping thing. We're also not going to use this podcast to brag or blast or down play what someone else is doing in the business. We're simply giving you a perspective, and we're going to try to keep it very positive and give you things that, like I said, you can actually use to grow your business. So with that being said, we're already 8 minutes in. I talked for 8 minutes. That went real fast. Shanita and I are always discussing different things. We work together on a lot of different projects that most people don't even know about. But like I said, we tend to be in the same vein when it comes to, looking at what's happening nationally and trying to figure out how we can use that information to benefit ourselves. So for those of you who don't know, our National Association of Realtors has been involved and continues to get involved, or be named, I should say, in lawsuits revolving around the antitrust laws. And over the years, a lot of you have heard me say, you really need to be careful about how you approach the question of what you're being paid in terms of commission with another agent, and then the things that you say in response. So if an agent tells you, hey, the commission is 1.5%, and that's the best I can do, it is not appropriate. In fact, it is a violation of your ethics code to say, well, I'm not going to show the property if I'm only getting a 1.5% or 2%. And so I've had some very interesting conversations over the last few years with agents here in our firm and just in general, where agents were adamant that was what they were going to say if they got if they, ran across a property that one of their clients wanted to buy, wanted to look at, and the commission was that amount. And so I've been saying, eventually that's going to catch up to us in the industry, and it certainly has. In the last how many months? I would say
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
We have gone from having one lawsuit to 11.
I think it's 11 now.
11 lawsuits, and they are from all different states. So there's Missouri, there's Chicago, there's Illinois, I should say, Utah. California, Utah. I saw one from Colorado. I saw one from New Jersey, North Carolina. So this is not an isolated situation. And basically, how all of these things came to unravel, well, part of it, I believe, is that there were studies being done about how agents manage their commission rates, and how much people are being paid. It has the idea that a real estate agent should be paid 6%, or that's the going rate, is so embedded, I would say, in our business, in the industry.
And it is, and especially because my experience with that standard is, as I've heard people say a lot, is working with sellers, and especially for sale by owners. Because the number one thing I hear from for sale by owners is, I don't want to pay an agent recently I just heard an owner say, I don't want to pay an agent 6 to 8%, so I'm not listing my property. I'll sell it myself. And the fact that multiple homeowners are saying this is not a coincidence. We are as agents, as realtors, we're out here telling people, making it known, publicizing that we don't work for less than 6%, and that's tainting the industry, and it's just not true. And as Kaye said, it goes against antitrust, because we're not even supposed to have a standard commission rate, and it hurts the industry, because when you think about all these lawsuits that we have, people think, the public, the consumers think that we're overpaid, as it is, for many different reasons. The flashiness of some agents, the way the real estate shows are. You have agents saying, "Oh, I just made this $35,000 on this on selling this property. I'm about to go have a party." Like, the fact that that's on a reality TV show where the public can watch it, and that's tainted the industry, and it makes it hard for us to maintain in this industry. I won't say hard. It poses a challenge. Mm-hmm. It poses a challenge because when you, especially, like I said, and I have to go back to for sale by owners, because one of the challenges that we have in many markets is low inventory, or low listings, mm-hmm. right? Low inventory of listed properties, because many homeowners are saying, well, I'm not paying that to an agent. I'll just sell it myself. And it's true enough, a homeowner can sell their property themselves or however they want to. At the same time, though, more often than not, they're leaving money on the table because they're underpricing, or they overprice and the property never gets sold. And they don't know all of the nuances that we as professionals know. And so I just think for us, we need to go back to the beginning, mm-hmm. Understand what it is that we pledged in the code of ethics. Because if we don't get back to the basics of serving people as opposed to serving ourselves, we're going to see more for sale by owners
and less agents.
And that's a thing too, because some people say it's good that it's running off agents, right?
There are some brokers saying it.
Yeah.
There are some brokers saying it's good that it's running off agents, because the way it's set up now, there is not even one house available for every agent to sell.
Right.
So they're expecting like a 20 to 40% drop in the amount of active agents that we have across the country. And that will put us more in line with what they do in Canada and some European countries. Um, and I really want people to take away from this. We're not going to go into all the details of all the lawsuits and everything. You can go to newswire.com and read about all of them. And if you want a full subscription to Newswire, what is it, like $5 or $6? It's not even Housing Wire, yeah,
or even Inman.
Inman News. I think I pay $9 a month for Inman News. But
it's a nominal fee.
It's worth it,
right.
For your business, for you to invest in having access to publications that are geared towards our industry, where you can learn about these things.
And help your value proposition.
Yes.
So that when you are meeting sellers or homeowners, and you're able to give them data as opposed to your feelings when it comes to listing their properties, because we all know that sellers, they're in their feelings when it comes to selling their property. But if us as agents, if we take the time to read and study and look at the actual numbers of what's going on in the market, we can add to our value proposition and won't have any challenges when it comes to our commissions, whatever that may be.
So thank you. That's a really good segue. I wanted to, what I was going to say is I want people to understand what the legal term per se means, because when you talk about the lawsuits regarding the commissions that NAR and all of these bigger companies are involved in, you hear people say, well, I didn't do that. Well, I never said that. And so, they don't have anything in writing where we agreed. I haven't agreed in writing with another. Alexa off. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna have to unplug her next time. But I've heard that too, where people are like, well, I didn't write any agreement. I didn't make any verbal agreement or any agreement otherwise with another firm to set a price of 6% of the purchase price for a commission. Well, I was looking up. I have had the pleasure of getting the opportunity to understand a little bit about business law and like torts and things of that nature. And one of the things that I remember reading about in one of my real estate courses, I don't exactly remember which one, but it was the idea of per se, which I was trying to find a legal definition that was spelled out in layman's terms, so to speak, so that I could share with everybody what it means. And I think I found one. So legal matters often involve complex issues, some of which must be untangled and examined individually. Referring to a single element of a larger issue makes the use of the term per se to signify this separation. For example, one might refer to a rule that is being questioned, saying the rule per se is not a bad one, but its enforcement is lacking. In other words, the rule in and of itself is not a bad one, but its enforcement is not as good as it should be. So that's kind of the same thing with us in terms of commissions. Nobody is physically going out saying necessarily that the fee has to be 6% and that it is what it is. We're just, yes, but everybody collectively and subconsciously agrees that they should be paid 6%. And so therefore they approach their business like that. They approach their clients like that. They say, we're going to give you 6%, or I can't, whatever the reason is. It's not illegal for a brokerage. If that brokerage has a set fee for its agents to work from, that in itself is not illegal. But if you cannot determine that there was no, if there's no data that shows that this is not the case, that people haven't agreed, but your actions show different, then you are in a situation where it could per se could be used. And that is actually what happened with NAR. So NAR has this clear communications rule that said you must put a commission into the MLS for the buying broker or agent if you are the listing broker or agent and you want to market your property in an MLS that is owned or managed by the National Association of Realtors. And so everybody can see that if they're a licensed realtor, whatever MLS you're using. It was, I guess, supposed to be for transparency or whatever. I really don't know what the reason.
That was one of the reasons.
Yes, for transparency, but it's kind of gotten them into trouble because these agents look and they see 33333 for their part of the percentage, and so when there's a decline or a decrease on this house over here, it's 2.75. The agent calls you and says, "Hey,
why is the commission 1.5%?"
Right. When you as a listing agent have a contractual obligation, you signed a listing agreement, that is a contract. You have already set the price. Now, obviously, you can negotiate between the two of you, the listing agent and the buying agent. If the listing agent wants to give up more of their end of the commission, then they're perfectly capable of doing that. But most of us don't want to do it. So what we get back from some agents, not all, is, well, hey, that property isn't going to show. Agents aren't going to show it if it's not a 3% commission. And then they go and tell sellers that. So when sellers are trying to negotiate the fee for getting their property listed, and they say, I don't want to pay 3%, but I can pay 2%. Then the listing agent says, well, that's fine, but agents aren't going to show it if they see the commission is 2%. All of that is antitrust violations. You're basically coercing the seller into giving you a fee that you feel is comfortable, even if it's to their detriment. It is also, in turn, a violation of one of the very most basic and clear ethics rules.
And that's what I was going to say.
And you're violating that, which is to exercise reasonable care and skill. There is one that says you're supposed to put the needs of your client before your needs.
Right. And when we, I'm using we collectively. Mm-hmm. When we go out and say, well, your house is not going to show because you're only offering this amount, you need to offer more. We're actually putting our own financial gain ahead
above the statement itself.
Right.
It says that. Yeah. And so, that is the per se part. It is not that you actually, because that's what the culture, that's what we know behind the scenes in the culture of real estate. We go out and say that. And then when they pull data and the data shows that it was like, what was it? Like 99% or 90, it was a really high number, like 97 and 99% of all of the contracts that they pull and all of the listings that they saw in MLSs that were owned by NAR across the nation had 3%. We can't argue at that point that it's not a conspiracy, because there is not enough situations where the rate was negotiated individually. So this per se rule is what can be most clearly proved. And I feel like, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe that is the reason that NAR lost the first lawsuit, and it opened the floodgates for other people to come in with all other sorts of complaints that could also fall under this per se idea. And we have to make some big changes. Now, I'm not saying all of this, and I know Shanita isn't either. I'm not saying all of this to you for you to feel like you can't charge 6%. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can charge 6% if that's what you want to do, but you need to put value behind it. You need to make make it worth it to your seller so that they want to pay you 6%.
How are you gonna? So as a seller, how are you going to help me sell my property?
Right.
So that help solve my problem, because my problem is I need to sell this house so I can go somewhere else. How are you going to solve that problem without causing me any stress and causing me a lot of time? When we can, as agents, realtors, when we can articulate that clearly, concisely, and we perform on that, I believe that sellers will have no problem paying us
the 6%
or whatever
the fee
whatever
is.
it is that we agree to, because we have communicated that this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to solve your problem, and I'm going to do everything that I said I'm going to perform. So I think that's where we need to put more of our focus. How can I make this the best possible deal for my client, as opposed to how can I do the least amount of work to get the most amount of money?
Right. And most sellers, buyers and sellers now are really savvy.
Yes.
Most of them understand that,
Absolutely.
we put their property in the MLS for sale, it's going to feed to Zillow and all the property sites. So you're not really having an edge,
Right.
just by telling them that.
What else?
What else can you do? That's the whole thing. I am a person, I've talked to several agents within Best. I charge people for all sorts of things, like because you may want me to do a lot of work that's not worth, you don't want to pay me what it's worth, but now I can piecemeal some things.
Right.
Because also in your real estate education, you're a business owner.
Right.
So you provide a service.
Right.
So you can charge for those services collectively or individually. There is nothing illegal about that.
Right.
It's just how you approach it.
Right.
One of our agents, Vin Lee, would always say that. I don't sell houses. I provide a service. But he's absolutely right.
Right.
You provide a service, and depending on how great your service is, you can determine how much you can be paid for that. But if all you're telling these people is that you're going to put their property in the MLS and it's going to sell, especially if the pricing is wrong, if they haven't done any updates and things of that nature, you are actually shooting yourself in the foot. You are making it more difficult for you to deal with that customer. That customer is never going to forget that you charged them all that money and you didn't sell their house. Then they're going to come find somebody like me or Shanita or one of our other best agents who understands value proposition, and we'll be able to, give them a better plan for how we can market their property. I hope that you guys are looking at properties and trying to figure out individually what you can do to help meet that individual's needs. The other thing that we don't want to do is misrepresent. If you tell a seller, I'm going to do 5 open houses, especially if you write that in your listing agreement, you better very well be doing it, because if you don't, it's misrepresentation, a form of fraud, and they can take action against you. So I never start off telling somebody what the commission is. I always start off trying to figure out what I'm going to need to do in order to sell their property. And I tell them that I customize my fees to fit your needs based on the work that needs to be done. I have never had somebody tell me, well, I don't want to do that. They're like, well, when can you come over? Just the fact that I say I customize my fee to fit your need, that's what gets them. So I'm saying all of that to say we are going to be talking a little bit more in these subsequent podcasts about value proposition. I don't want to put Miss Shanita on the spot here, but I think we can come up with a few things for the next episode that we could provide and share with you guys that may add, to your value proposition, or to even help you develop it if you don't have one. I strongly suggest that people go and read. You don't have to read about all of the lawsuits, but just kind of familiarize yourself with what's going on, because these buyers and sellers, it's all over the news. It's all over the internet. They know about it. So you're going to probably run across someone that you're going to have to answer questions for this about.
And go to different sources too.
Yeah, not just one source.
Right. So different news outlets. Of course, it's all over YouTube. There are so many agents, non-agents.
Ricky Caruth talks about it every day, which
Yes.
he's a multi-million-dollar agent, has a huge team. He talks about it almost every day.
Right.
So
and that will help to broaden